Now, originally, I was gonna put my points out there and say what I want to say, but I actually, you know, fumbled into actually a great person that I talked to today, during my line of work. Today's Monday as well, so, and it was a very interesting guy because I didn't expect it, to be fair. Maybe it's just faith. But no, he was an amazing person, and I'm not gonna really reveal his name and everything because his words, what says on the pavement stays on the pavement, kind of like with Las Vegas and all that. But it was a very intriguing conversation. At the start, we talked about like the conservation of like Tesla and whether or not like actually having electrical cars it's really beneficial for the world or not. In terms of like thing, and I've learned a lot. Within that conversation, and we went to many different conversations about many political issues, and then of course we stumbled upon residential schools. And what was very interesting actually was, and I didn't notice at the time because I thought it was just Caucasian, right? But he was actually Sicilian and Native American, right? And of course, like he said on his side that he couldn't get like a lot of the benefits, because he doesn't classify as enough and everything, which okay, maybe you can make like claims and whatnot, but his mother could, but it just didn't decide to because it just wouldn't benefit him in Canada, or at least this part of Ontario. And it would benefit him more of the north, but not. But anyways, he had his say on it. He was very strong about it. He was like, it was kind of a shame that it wasn't really talked about it in like when he was going in, right? And he was kind of like, it's great. It's kind of good that people are talking about it now. And I came in and everything, and I actually told him that I did learn this. I did actually learn about the residential schools, and I did actually learn about the reserves and all that, right? Maybe it wasn't framed in the way that you know what is framed now in social media and everything, but I did learn it. Like, I did come in with the acknowledgement that I learned it as well. And it really depends on the school that you go to as well. I actually went to a pretty good school during the time, with a pretty good community as well. And this was a public school, it's not even a private school, right? So I've learned it pretty well. um and and it just shows like the different culture, because again, he was like way older than me as well, right? So the things that he learned compared to mine is very different. But what does this turn out as well, right? And I put my views in. He actually did talk about a little extra as well about there was once a time where Canada actually did give reparations, for example, and he actually brought that up to one of the chiefs. And obviously, when you do get reparations, right, you give it to like the main head, right? And then what happened was the chief, of course, it came to like the casino, which also, to help fund back and everything to like the Native Americans and everything, and the other kind of funding actually went to the chief, distributed to other like Native Americans, right? With that extra funding and everything. And what happened was, and he was distraught as well about it, was he didn't like the fact that they give money, and for people that don't have like that financial wealth and everything, because of the kind of culture that they were kind of put in the past and everything, they didn't make good use of the money at all, and it's just they went bad and everything, right? And we actually did have a conversation, and I put my point of view on it, and I was saying like, I think the issue is really not really about about progressing and everything, because we're actually doing a lot of things. I don't think we're doing things like, how do I frame this? I think we're doing things, but we're not doing things to in the long term to benefit them, right? For example, we put separate legislation for them, which I actually learned as well. Like, there's a new like recent legislation for them to kind of like control the things that we have and everything. Whenever we're building more infrastructure, and they also have like certain separate legislation for themselves, right? Compared to like other main Canadians, and you may look at it, it's like, okay, that may be the truth and everything, and like they deserve it and whatnot, but it's kind of like, with great power comes great responsibility. And realistically speaking, if you make different legislation towards it, then again, it's not really, because again, they've been put into a culture where it wasn't bad. And not all Native Americans as well. I think in some Native Americans they've really changed. Like they still preserve, of course, their cultural identity and everything, but in terms of like the culture of building up hard work and all that, right? That kind of takes you from places to places. And I think within himself, he said his Sicilian side of it, it did, right? And ironically, the funny thing is, he was actually a practicing Catholic, which I was like, it was very ironic because it's, of course, the Catholic school and everything. And of course, he acknowledges the fact that it was a devastating thing and whatnot, right?